Okay, hey there, everybody. So we're doing a review here from our week 16 class. And the big thing that we went over in week 16 was a new thing, and that was C form or changed conjunct order. So that will be the theme of today's little video is a little review on C form, at least from a broad perspective. We won't dive super deep into the details, but we'll have a look at what it is, how to make it, and some kind of common little examples that you could use. Okay, so to start very, very quickly, A form equals, we can also name it independent order. Okay, and hopefully we're starting to kind of like catch on a little bit here, but A form, what does it do? These are verbal clauses that form complete sentences on their own. Okay, and then if we look, so this is like, the baby is crying, the dog is eating, I am tired, you are cooking, we are laughing, all of those things. Even if you put tense markers, even if you put other modifiers, um, like I could say like, we were having a really good time. That's still A form. We were having a really good time. It's still A form. It's one verb in there. You can put a period at the end. It's a sentence. Then we have B form, and the AKA for that is plain conjunct, which now starts to make sense when you look at C form, right? Like that's why it's just plain conjunct. It doesn't have that initial change on it. So B form or plain conjunct forms dependent clauses, which are like AKA clauses that do not form complete sentences on their own. Okay, and this is gonna give you things like when I'm hungry, if you help me out, um, until the rain stops, um, before we're finished. Um, Other things like to, I'm learning to speak Ojibwe, or even things like, verbing in a lot of cases, right? Like, I'm working today, finishing up building a deck. Finishing up is B form. I'm working today, A form, finishing up a deck. I'm working, finishing building a deck. Okay, A form, B form kind of setup. Okay, so that's the type of things that B form does. It makes those dependent clauses, okay, that don't form complete sentences on their own. And then we come to C form, okay, which is the sort of the new novel thing here for us. And we call this changed conjunct. So really, when you look at conjunct order as an umbrella, there's two kind of streams in conjunct order. You either have plain conjunct, which is B form, and it just has the conjunct ending, or you have changed conjunct, the other stream, where you still have that conjunct ending, but then you also add something else, which is, of course, the initial change. Okay. Now, C form or changed conjunct, its main job, okay, forms participles. And we talked a little bit about this in class, but um, participles basically equate to, you know, verbs that are pretending to be nouns. All right. And we looked at this even further in class, right? Doing examples. And even in English, we use participles all the time. Okay. Like, um, I think there's like the verb of like jogging. and I can take jogging and turn it into a jogger. And because I can say a jogger or the jogger, that means I'm using it like a noun, right? Nouns have like a house, the cat, like that's a noun. It's sort of telling you it's a noun. So if you can say or the blank, it's probably a participle, okay, that you're using. Like jogging, I can't say jogging. It doesn't sound right because it's a verb. But I can say a jogger, and that sounds perfectly normal because I'm using it like a noun. It's a verb, but I'm stealing it and dressing it up and saying, look, it's a noun, though it's kind of not really one. Okay. And that's what these participles are doing. And you could go on and on, right? Like if you're, if, take the verb walking and turn it into a walker, or you take the verb to like sleeping and you can turn it into a sleeper, like the wrestling hold. Oh, you've got me in the sleeper hold, right? It's the sleeper. That's also a noun. Okay. So I'm taking a verb, stealing it, dressing it up, and saying, oh, look, I'm using it like a noun now. Okay. And that's what participles do. And that's what C form largely does. And then we kind of steal that to have it do all these other things. Okay. So let's start looking at um, what this looks like and how to do this. Okay. So C form, I'll put it like this, like C form equation. Okay. And I've I showed you this in class. It's incredibly simple. Okay. Initial change plus conjunct ending equals C form. Okay. This is the imagine it like the equation, like you're in math class and your teacher's like, oh, you get a little cheat sheet and you can write your equations down for the test. Like this is the equation for the C form test, okay? Where you have to remember to do initial change up at the front, conjunct ending at the end, and then you've got yourself a C form verb, okay? So let's start to go even deeper than this and look at what initial change is, okay? Because that's also a new thing, okay? Initial change. And it's pretty straightforward, okay? We change the first vowel of a verb into a sort of like preset other sound, okay? And you'll see each of the seven vowels gets its own little preset change. Okay. So that's what initial change is. It's the step one in making a C form verb. Okay. So let's look at what those initial changes look like. Okay. So single A will turn into E. A single I also turns into E. And then the last short vowel is a single O, and it turns into WE. Okay, so to I to o to we. Then we've got our long vowels. Okay, double turns into a ya. E turns into ah. O turns into wa. And finally, we have which turns into a yeah. Okay, so these are just seeing if I can get this all on one page. I guess it doesn't perfectly matter, but I can maybe give this a little bit of space here, maybe not. Okay. So anyways, this is what they look like. Okay. To to o to we, to ya, to o to wa, and to yeah. And this is the initial change list, and you can kind of like bank on it. Okay. It's pretty consistent. All right. So that's the step one is that initial change. Then the conjunct endings, we've already been working on those for weeks now. So we already know the ending part. That stays consistent through all of conjunct order. It's just, do we add initial change or not? So let's start messing around and trying this on some various different verbs. Okay. I'm going to roll with VAIs because that's what we worked on in class. Um, I could have just as well said, let's do VIIs and just started there, but we did VAIs because they're kind of fun and we can do them as people so they feel kind of engaging. So let's look at these, okay? VAIs. And we're gonna take them through all the forms, okay? And you'll see how they kind of like evolve. And I find that to be a really helpful kind of exercise to see how they change, okay? In like a controlled environment. So I'll take a verb like um maybe something like this. Odewege. Odewege. So odewege right now, we'll keep it in A form. Odewege means you might see it looks a lot like de a gun, right? De a gun we know is a drum, but de ege means he or she drums. Okay, so that's it in A form. But de ege, he or she drums. I could say, nini or de ege, the man drums, period. Okay, it's an A form. In B form, or de ege, I need to do something to it. I need to change it in some sort of way so that it's obvious to the listener that it's in B form. So I have to add a conjunct ending. For the third person singular, it's a D. Okay. And then this gives us not he or she drums, but kind of like when he drums, dot, 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 right? This forms an incomplete sentence. It's a dependent clause. Okay. Gishpin nineo deweget, if the man drums, then we'll all dance. Like, oh, okay, now the sentence is finished. So let's look at C form, okay, and take it all the way. I'm going to look at Odewege and let's go through our little list, right? Because we had an equation to follow. The step one is initial change. So you find the first vowel in the verb going left to right. Okay, so that is then the O at the front. That's the first vowel we hit. All right, so O becomes WE. That is my initial change here. Now, it's initial change plus conjunct ending. So you still have to add the correct conjunct ending for whoever the person is who's doing it. In this case, I still want it to be the third person singular. Okay, him. So now we've created wedeweget, wedeweget, and wedeweget needs to be interpreted some way. We had he or she drums, when he drums, and wedeweget is now the one who drums, aka the drummer. So that's just like in English, okay? Taking the verb drumming, and saying the drummer. Drumming to the drummer, odeweget to wedeweget, wedeweget. Okay, the one who drums, the drummer. Okay, let's keep going. Let's do another one. Okay. What's cool, okay, is I could do something like this one might look familiar. Okay. Gettizi. Gettizi. This means like he or she um, is grown, okay, or is aged. And this is used, well, I'll kind of show you what we use it for after. So in A form, that's what it means, okay? He or she is grown or is aged. In B form, still for that same person, that same actor, what happens to Gettizi? Gettizi. We have to add something to it to put it into B form. What will it be? A D at the end. Gets it, dot, dot, dot. Because now it's a dependent clause. Okay. When he or she is grown or aged or old. Okay, so that's what it means. And then in C form, I'll sort of bold this so you can see what I've added. In C form, get to Z, we start up at the front with initial change. That's step one of the equation, right? So the first vowel we hit is an I, right? Going left to right, the first vowel is the I becomes E. And then we still have to add our conjunct ending at the end for the third person singular, and that's a D. We all of a sudden gets it, gets it. And gets it is the noun in Ojibwe for an elder slash old person. Okay, so that is how you create a lot of the common nouns that we use all the time in Ojibwe. They aren't actually nouns. They are verbs that are being used as participles in C form. Like just the noun an elder is getzid, which is actually a verb in C form. Okay, so very normal thing to do in the language. And yeah, the sooner you kind of come to terms with how to do this, the quicker you have access to all of those kind of fun nouns that you get to make and build. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, get is it. He is grown. Get zid. When he's grown. Get zid. The one who's grown. Okay, and it's very cool. But then it can do other things. Okay, like I can do something like a verb like well, what would be a good example here for this? Ones with a double O at the front. How about something like this? Mokodaso, mokodaso. In A form, mokodaso gets a period at the end, and there's a full sentence. He or she carves. Okay, specifically carving wood. Okay, he or she carves, period. Gets a period at the end because it's an A form. In B form, mokodaso. What would we do here to keep it for third person singular and say when she carves? Mokodasut, right? We're putting that D at the end, dot, 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 when he or she carves. Cool. Now, let's look at C form. Again, I'm just kind of cycling through some of the different initial changes here. You might now realize that step one is find the initial change, which is the first vowel in the verb. The first vowel is a double O. Okay, that's the first vowel, double O. So then what does it turn into? Two O's turns into wa. Okay, two O's turns into wa. And then we still need to put our conjunct ending at the end, which again we'll keep for third person. And there it is. Okay. Moi kadasad. Moi kadasad. And this becomes the carver. Okay, the one who carves wood. The wood carver. Okay, which is very cool. So if you want to say, oh, like my grandfather was a carver, well, you would say, Moi kadasad giawe nimshom siban. My grandfather was a carver. Moi kadasad giawe nimshom siban. Okay, so there's another example. And then I'll do maybe one last one. Okay, and it'll look maybe something like this. I'll use a verb like debandogze. It's one that you guys potentially know here, debandogze. Um, and right now it means he or she um, belongs somewhere. Okay. And this verb is used for all sorts of different things, but it does get used also for like band membership, right? So, like, wherever, like, what nation you're registered with. Okay. So, let's make it for me. Okay. So, in A form, how would we say I belong somewhere? Okay. In A form. So, you take de ben dog, is it? And at the front, you're going to say ni or ind, right? They both sound really good, ind or ni, because it's a form. So you're putting that up at the front. Hey, buddy, we got a little guest speaker here. And then at the end, we have to remember this is a VAI that ends in a short vowel. So you delete it when it's me who does it. Nidbandogus or Indibandogus. Most people probably say that, Indibandogus. So there's that. And then we end up with I belong somewhere, right? So I can change that here to I belong somewhere. So if you wanted to say, oh, I belong to Cape Croker, like that's where I'm a registered band member of. You can say Neyaashiinigamiing in the band August. Neyaashiinigamiing in the band August. I'm a band member at Cape. Neyaashiinigamiing in the band August. Or we can put it in B form. The band August. And this will then turn into we want to say when I belong somewhere, dot dot dot. Okay, so this could be like, oh, like if I belong to Cape, or when I belong to Cape, or even like until I belong to Cape. Maybe you're waiting for approval on your registration or something like that. It's now going to be a B form ending for me, which is yawn. Okay, yawn is when or if or until I am something. Okay, any of those B form thoughts. So there it is. Okay. Like, oh, Gishpin Neyaashiinigamiing de Bandagas Yan. Oh, if I'm a band member at Cape. Gishpin Neyaashiinigamiing de Bandagas Yan. If I'm a Cape member, right? That's kind of what that would look like. And then we could go to Cform all the way. De Bandagas. And let's look at this. How do we turn this into Cform? Again, for me, okay, we're doing I all the way through this. So first vowel heading left to right is this single I, right? We have a single I here. Di bandagase. So the di becomes de, right? We're turning a single I into an E. And then we still need the other half of our equation, right? Initial change plus conjunct ending. And it's yawn because I'm trying to say me. Okay. So deb and dogs yawn. Deb and dogs yawn. Deb and dogs yawn. Now, what does this mean? It's not that like the one who is from somewhere, I am me, the one, some like, that it's hard to kind of, how do I interpret this into English? What this actually is if in the Bandagas is I belong to this place, B form, de Bandagas Yang is like if I belong to this place. The C form is actually where I belong or the place I belong. Okay, this is where I belong. Okay. Or in the context of, band membership, it would be like my band or like the band I'm registered with. Okay. So you could say like, oh, I am Neyaashiinigamiing de Bandagasian. Oh yeah, it's Cape that I belong to. Oh yeah, it's Cape that I'm a member of. Okay. That's how you would use that. Oh, yeah. Mi Neyaashiinigamiing, mio Neyaashiinigamiing, mio de Bandagasian. Yeah, that's where I'm a member. Cape, that's the place. Okay, so it's really cool, and that's how you would use this. Okay, C form in like a first person like that. And then if you just made yin at the end, it would be Debandaga's yin, and that's where you belong. I could say, oh, Nindash ma binadawangashiing in the bandagas. I'm belong here in Penetanguishene. That's where my kind of people are from. Gindashwin, but you, mio de neashingaming de bandagasin. But as for you, you're a member at Cape. Okay, so that's how you can like flip these around and use them a little bit. De bandagasin, de bandagasin, where I'm from, where you're from. Or I could say like where they are from. De bandagazawad. De bandagazawad. where they are from. Oh, miode Neyaashiinigamiing, Deb and Daga Zawa de Gil Gatsajik. Those elders are from Cape. Miode Deb and Daga Zawa Neyaashiinigamiing Gil Gatsajik. Okay, so that's a little bit of yeah, a little bit on this. And the thing that I'm going to finish with to wrap this video up, because I think we're getting long here, is just that this idea of participles is then what we use to make content questions. And I'll leave it on that. So if you look at izinikazo being an A form, and that means he or she is named kind of X. If I put that in C form for third person, eh, I becomes E, so ezinikazott. This now becomes what he or she is called. Okay, ezinikazott, what he or she is called. Then I put Anish in front. Anish ezinikazott. And then that's how you end up with content questions like who, what, where, when, why, how much, how many, all of those types of things. Anish ezinikazott, how is he or she named? Okay, because ezinikazott means what she is called. Anish is the question word meaning how. So, how is it that she is named? Or how is it that he is called? Anish ezinikazott. Anish ezinikazott Dogwilzens. What's that boy's name? Anish ezinikazott Dogwilzens. What's that boy's name? Oh, I don't know. Maingan Sujinkazo. His name is Maingas. His name's Little Wolf. Oh, Maingas Sujinkazo. Midashao. Anish ezinikazott Dogwilzens. Oh, Wawaskones Sujinkazo. Oh, her name's Little Flower. Wawaskones Sujinkazo. Qua. Midash Nin. Nindashwin. Ani Shajnikazian. What am I called? Ani Shajnikazian. Oh, Akunine Indijnikas. My name's Akunine. Gindashwin. And what about you? Ani Shajnikazian. What's your name? You know, so that's how you can flip these actors at the end, right? Like you can change that conjunct ending, which changes the actor, and all of a sudden it's Ejnikazad, Ejnikazawad, Ejnikazian, Maga Ejnikazian, right? So you can just change the ending and it'll change who's called something. And it just kind of goes on from there. Okay. Pish is where. We looked at this in class. It's kind of like the where question, right? So I can say, Pish, I can take unjiba, which is to be from somewhere. O becomes WE. We put yin at the end for you. Bing boom. We've just made ourselves a question. Where are you from? Okay, Ampish Wenjabayan. Ampish Wenjabayan. Unjaba becomes Wenjabayan. Initial change at the front, O to WE, yin at the end for you. And we have where are you from with the question word Ampish, which means where. Ampish Wenjabayan. Where are you from? Ampish Wenjabayan. Where am I from? Ampish Wenjabada O Ikwa. Where's that woman from? Maga Ampish Wenjabawad. Igil Mindamoyayak. Where are those women from? Those old women. Ampish Wenjabawad Igil Mindamoyayak. Oh, Neyaashiinigamiing. Onjabawak Igil. Oh, they're from Cape. Okay. So that's how you can kind of use these, use them to drive questions, which then, of course, drive conversations and get things rolling. Okay. Or you can just straight up use these participles as nouns and then just refer to things as nouns within your what you're saying. So there's the crash course on Cform. I know there's like sort of a lot to cover in the first little go of it, but that should be enough to at least answer some of the initial questions, give you a little bit of a formula to go look on kind of how can I do this myself, and start playing around. Find some VAI verbs and try and put them into A, B, C form for a given actor. You know what I mean? Bopid, he or she laughs. Bopid, when he laughs. Bayopid, the one who laughs or the laugher. Okay. And it's like, start working on those, see how you can manage with it. Okay. Or you can do like colors. Okay. If I do something like Ozawazid, he or she is yellow. Ozawazid, if he's yellow. And then where's Ozawazid, the yellow one. Okay. So, play around with those, try doing initial change plus conjunct ending and see what words you can make. And then try putting some question words in front of them and see if you can make some questions. That's a good places to start. Okay. So that's going to be it for today's little review. And I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next week where we'll keep practicing these. Okay. Yeah.